Test. Oh, there it is. Well, welcome everyone. How are you? Yeah, we are excited about this program. It's quite a program. It's going to be a week, from Tuesday through Saturday. And we have a lot. We have 13 different lectures that Barbara will be conducting. And 2 of the days we have something special. We wanted people to come away with how to do natural remedies. I mean, it's one thing you go through and you're speaking, right? But then when you try to start, well, I'm going to try this, and I don't know if it's happened to you, but then you're trying it, and then you go, I think something's missing here. And but this way, Barbara's going to share, she's going to have the natural remedies, and that's going to be on Wednesday at 11 and also Thursday at 11. So follow your programs there for the different times. We have a lot going on in the different lectures. Just wanted to let you know that we do have some restrooms out back here and to the right. So if you see there's a lot of there's a line over here, feel free to use the restrooms to the right there. We have our meals Tuesday through Friday, and it's going to be 5:30 to 6:30. We have a really amazing menu, and it's all going to be gluten-free. Now, if you did not purchase a meal ticket and you decide, well, I kind of would like a meal, they are extra meal tickets that you can purchase. And so we just request that if you could do a day in advance, it just helps us to plan how many meals. And the kitchen really appreciates that, because when I flood the kitchen with tickets, they come at me and they go, we can't do this. But they do, and they did, and they're very accommodating, and we appreciate there's a whole team back there that are preparing meals already for you. So we do appreciate them and all their efforts. A lot goes into this program, and just wanted to let you know a lot of people have been very busy and trying to make this very special for you. You are here for a reason. You're here because you care about your health. And you want to find out more about what you can do in your health. And so that's why we do this. Now, I want to mention that this Saturday, and it's not in your program, but I just want to mention that Barbara has agreed to speak and share her testimony. And it will be at our worship service on Saturday at 11 a.m. So if you would like to attend that, you're welcome. Just be here at 11 a.m. and that will be in our sanctuary there. And Barbara will be giving her testimony, which is amazing. We also, on Friday morning from 8 to 11, now we have a blood clinic available for you. I'll have the information tomorrow on the different options that you can select. And these are all panels, blood testing panels that are going to be, they were made for us specifically for the different lectures Barbara's going to be doing. And then you can test as far as where you're at in each of those areas. And that's going to be available. And so if you're interested in that, we'll have a sign-up sheet tomorrow. And that you can go ahead and sign up for along with the information. We do have some good rates that they've allowed us to have for the blood testing. So you may want to go ahead and take advantage of that. And so right now we're going to have an opening prayer by Pastor Mencia. Yes. A food truck is blocking an area that would need to be moved. Blue? Oh, blue truck, not a food truck. It's a blue truck. Blue truck? Oh, I know who that is. Okay, I think it's going away right now. Okay, sorry. All right. Pastor Mencia, would you open, please, with prayer?
Would you please bow your heads with me as we pray? Father, I want to thank you for this opportunity that we have to be here together to listen to lectures that will help us in our health. I want to thank you for the protection, the traveling mercies I know that some traveled just a few minutes to get here, and I spoke with somebody that traveled at least 10 hours. And so we thank you for all those that are here. They're safe. I want to pray for Barbara as she shares, that the Holy Spirit may inspire her. And as she shares with us, may we not only listen, but also put in practice that which we are going to listen to. Thank you. Be with us now, I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, and now we would like to invite Barbara, and she's going to start off with her first lecture, and I know you've been patiently waiting. We thank you, and let's welcome Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome. Welcome to our series where we're going to be talking about this amazing body that we live in and its inbuilt ability to heal itself. The question often is asked, well, if our body was designed to heal itself, why are so many people sick? That's a good question. The body will heal itself if you give it the right conditions. And one of those conditions isn't drugs. The fact is, drugs can mask symptoms, and in a crisis, a drug may save a life, but drugs have no ability to heal you. The body and the body alone is the only one that can heal you, and it will heal you if you give it the right conditions. And many people are unaware of those conditions, and we're going to learn some of those conditions. And Sylvia talked about natural remedies classes, which we're going to be looking at in the mornings of the next 2 days. And they have asked me to demonstrate. And you might think, well, how are you going to see? Because I'm way up here. Sebastian, our film guy, he's going to be there with a camera. And so it'll be shot up on the board, so you will be able to see it. Because it is true, it's not always easy to picture, well, what do you do? How do you make a poultice? So we're going to be demonstrating that. But this class, we're going to be talking about the DNA. What research is showing today that you can only apply 5% to the DNA. The fact is that genetics loads the gun, but it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. Now that makes sense to me, because God's government is a government of freedom, and freedom is based on free choice. So as Nelson Mandela said, I'm the captain of my ship. I'm the master of my destiny. I'm the one that chooses what I do and I do not do to my body. But if we're sick because of genetics, that takes away all free choice. The fact is, and it's a very interesting area today, it's the area of epigenetics. And epigenetics is the study of the effect of lifestyle, what we eat, even what we think, on our genes. And what they're showing today is we can turn our genes on or off by actually our lifestyle, our diet. Isn't that great to know? See, my mother died a cripple in a wheelchair at the age of only 51. With rheumatoid arthritis. So I have some strong inherited genes there, but you might have noticed that I'm not a cripple in a wheelchair and I'm not dead, because genetics may load the gun, but it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. So what I'd like to look at is, what is genetics? What is it? And we're going to go inside the cell. When we go inside the cell, we have a look at we start to have a look at how the body works, how the body runs. And if you want to know how it heals, we need to know a little bit on how it works. And right in the very nucleus, in the inside of the cell, is the genetic code that determines the colour of our eyes, the colour of our hair, the colour of our skin, our height. It's all written in the DNA. And when we are born, we have 23 chromosomes from our mother and 23 chromosomes from our father. There's a huge amount of information in the DNA. And if you were to gather all the information that's in this DNA into alphabetical language, it would fill, and put it in paperback books, it would fill enough books to go to the moon and back. I can hardly get my mind around that sort of information. In 1953, it made headlines in the newspaper. Secret of life had been discovered. So this is, 72 years ago. Watson and Crick's, two scientists, have been able to unravel the DNA. You see, that DNA can be pulled out 2 meters long and then all curled back in. Why did they say secret of life had been discovered? Because when they were able to unravel the DNA, they thought all we have to do is play a little with this DNA and we can make people well. Are we well? No, we're not well. We're not well at all. And that DNA is there for a reason. It's because we're constantly being remade. You know, we've got new eye cells every 1 to 2 days. So when my grandson, Lennox, who's 5, was running full pelt through grass this high, a piece of grass cut his eye. Isn't that boys? Anyway, I held him tight for a minute. He cried, but then he was okay. The eye was a little bit red. But I knew that those eye cells, they heal very quickly. But his mum heard and said, oh, please, I need you to take him to the doctor. That's an hour away. I thought he was okay because he's happily playing handball. You know, if there's a problem, you'll see it, don't you? And he's happily playing away. So we took him in. Doctor had all that equipment, which is great, magnifying glasses and things. And he said, it's healing very nicely. He said to me, did you know that these cells, they renew every 1 to 2 days? That's why if you have eye surgery, it's usually day surgery, isn't it? Because it heals very, very quickly. And if you get something in your eye, you've got to get it out pretty quickly because otherwise the cells can grow over it. And it's so uncomfortable having something in your eye that you can't rest until it's out. It's the quickest cell in the human body, quickest made cell. The next quickest is the cells that line our gastrointestinal tract. They're remade every 3 to 5 days. So if someone's got irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, colitis, they really should be healing in 2 weeks. Is that true? If we're constantly being remade. And we're going to go on a journey through the gastrointestinal tract. I think it's Friday. We're going to start at the mouth and we're going to end up at the other end. And we'll be having a look at how you can heal from those diseases because you can. And we've seen people totally heal from them. And that's the good news. So the eye's the quickest, then the cells that line the gastrointestinal tract, they're the next quickest. And skin, I think it's about every month. Liver under your right rib, we're going to look at your liver in detail tomorrow. It's about every 6 weeks, and bones, they're about every 3 months. We're constantly being remade according to the pattern, according to the formula, according to the recipe in the DNA. If we're constantly being remade, the question is, well, why aren't we healing? And I'd like to look at that. But before we look at it, I'd like to show you how the new cell is made. And we're going to make a new gastrointestinal tract cell. The DNA has all the information on how to make a whole new body, but we only want the information on how to make a new gastrointestinal tract. And so a photocopy is made because even though that DNA can be pulled out and coiled back in, it cannot leave. So a photocopy is made. That photocopy is called RNA, and it comes down to the little factory inside the cell where the new cell is made. It's called ribosome. And ribosome is the new factory where the new cell is made. So let's have a look at how it's made. And I'm going to explain it like the building of a brick wall. And the first brick goes down, and the first brick is an amino. They're all amino acids, all the bricks. Maybe it's tyrosine. Next brick is lysine. Next brick is, say, methionine. Next brick is phenylalanine. Can you see what's happening here? That each amino acid clicks into the next one like pieces of a jigsaw. It's just an incredible body we live in. And every 3 to 5 days, out pops a new gastrointestinal tract cell. Well, what's happening with an irritable bowel syndrome cell, whether it be irritable bowel, whether it be gastritis, whether it be Crohn's disease, whether it be colitis, but it's damage or irritation of the lining of our gastrointestinal tract. How's it made? Well, a photocopy's made of DNA. RNA comes down to ribosome. The first brick goes down, lysine, and then we're ready for the next one, but there's a piece of information missing. And so now the body's not sure, well, what do we put in there? Because there's a piece of information missing. It's like giving someone a recipe but leaving out one of the ingredients. It just won't be made right, will it? And there's a rogue cell. What's this rogue cell? This rogue molecule is always roaming around looking at somewhere to poke itself, and it's a breakdown from environmental poisons. And in it goes. And now we're up to methionine. Where does methionine fit? Well, basically it doesn't fit very well. And now we've got another problem, and that is the person's lacking amino acids. Why would they be lacking amino acids? Because they're drinking with their meals and they're stressed all the time, and so their protein can't get broken down properly. And when we go on our journey through the gut, you will see that if we're not breaking down our protein, it actually comes in one end and comes out the other. It can't get absorbed out of our gut and into the blood. So there can be a few reasons. And there's always those rogue cells that are roaming around from environmental poisons. Doesn't look very good, does it? And every 3 to 5 days, out pops a new we'll put it irritable. We've got our gastrointestinal tract. This is the new irritable bowel syndrome cell. So we've touched on a few reasons there why someone with such a condition are not healing. If the formula's not right, the new cell is not being made aright. So what I'd like to look at now is what's causing the damage. What's causing the damage in the DNA? But aren't there enzymes continually going up and down to heal any damage? Yes, there are. But if the person's not eating the nutrients required for those enzymes to be made, even they can be lacking. Michael and I have 4 sons and 4 daughters, and our 4 sons are all tradesmen. And let's say they come and they're going to build an extension on our house. And they're very good tradesmen. They've got very good tools, and they come to build, but there's no building materials. How can they build with no building materials? It's the same with our body. It's been designed to heal very well. But if we're not supplying the building materials, how can it rebuild us? And so if we're not supplying the building materials, what are the building materials? Fruits and vegetables, nuts and grains and legumes, all the food that God designed us to eat. But let's have a look at what's causing the damage. There's always a reason. You see, Newton's third law of motion states to every action there's an equal and an opposite reaction. In other words, there is always a reason why that damage would be there. That's why we should always investigate. Well, why would this be happening? What have I been exposed to? So let's make a list of what would cause that damage. And 92% of DNA damage, the research is showing today, is caused by a mineral deficiency. A mineral deficiency? So how could we be mineral deficient? Surely there's never been a time when so much food has been available. That is true. So why is there a mineral deficiency? There can be a few reasons. If someone's living on devitalised fast food, they're not going to be getting many minerals. But we're finding people that are eating fruits and vegetables, a pretty good balanced diet, but they're even showing mineral deficiencies. So why? And my resident why must always be here, because there is always a reason. Proverbs 26 verse 2 states that the curse causeless shall not come. In other words, there is always a reason. So why would people be mineral deficient if they're eating fruits and vegetables? Because of the soil that they're grown in. In his book, The Calcium Lie, Dr. Robert Thompson, he quotes the figures that show that 50 years ago there was twice as many minerals in the soil as there is today. So why? Because of the way agriculture's done, the same crops grown in the same soil again and again and again. And instead of feeding the soil with compost and nutrients, superphosphates put on the soil. What does superphosphate do? It produces show ponies of vegetables, looks good, doesn't taste any good. If you ever eat an apple off a tree, the flavour's incredible. You know what you're tasting? Minerals. I was in California a couple of months ago, and they took us out to an organic farm. This farm's incredible. I have never seen such big strawberries, huge strawberries. And it was just so impressive, this farm. And I'm talking to Joe, and Joe's in his, I think he's in his late 70s. He said, when I was 15, I complained because I was getting so sick from all the chemicals I used to mix up on my father's farm. So I asked him for 5 acres, and I did 5 acres organic, did so well, and I got 20 acres. The whole farm is organic today. Just beautiful. And I said, show me your compost. He said, over here. Every organic farmer is proud of their compost. They must have compost because compost feeds the soil. And that's why I say to people, please buy organic as much as you possibly can. I'm careful as to what my dollar supports. When you buy organic, you're supporting the local organic farmers. Can you believe it's organic? Well, if it's got that certified organic stamp on it, you can believe it, because those farmers, they are so regulated and so drilled. If only conventionally growing farmers were regulated as much as the organic farmers. I can't promise in the farmers market when people are selling out of their backyard. We just hope that they're honest. But organically grown fruits and vegetables have a far higher nutrient content because the soil's being fed. So if the soil is deficient, the plant will be deficient, and the person that eats that plant will be deficient. One organic tomato will deliver 9 times the iron of a conventionally grown tomato. So the organic tomato might look a lot more expensive, but you have to eat 9 conventional tomatoes to get the same amount of nutrients. So when you consider that, even though it's more expensive, you're getting more for your money. So that's one of the reasons, is that the food today does not have the nutrients that it used to have. Another reason why many are mineral deficient is because of stimulants. Stimulants are probably classified as something that stimulates. And I meet many people and they love their coffee. And I say, well, why do you have coffee? They say to me, I can't get going in the morning without it. I need something to get me going. So then I investigate, why do you need something to get you going? Is it because you're going to bed too late? Is it because you're eating too late? Is it because your bedroom is lit up like a Christmas tree because of all the technology? It's so important to investigate. When I was in Melbourne a few years ago, I was talking to a man. I said to him, what do you do for a job? He said, I'm a private investigator. I said, so am I. We should all be private investigators, investigating why these things are so, because there is always a reason. Thank you, thank you. So stimulants. Yes, coffee. I was at one seminar, and every time I mentioned this one, there was this groan in the audience. Now, if you are a coffee drinker, please don't stop or you won't be able to come to class tomorrow. People say, do you drink coffee? I said, no, I just watch the people suffer. Day one at our health retreat. But if you are a coffee drinker, by the end of the week, I don't think you're going to want to drink it anymore when you realise what it is doing. And one of the things that it's doing is taking minerals out. So a big contributing factor to the osteoporosis we're seeing, to the deterioration of teeth that we're seeing, because that's the biggest source of our minerals is our bone, our skeletal system. So when I broke my arm, my radius totally broke. It was out of place. That's what I was walking on the rocks with my grandchildren, got onto a slippery rock, up I went, bang, down. Now, I'm very glad for the skill of the orthopaedic surgeon that pulled it back into place. And I'm very glad for the pain-killing medication so I didn't feel him pull it back into place. There is a time in a crisis. But after 4 weeks, when they X-rayed it just to check everything was going right, they couldn't believe that it was almost totally knitted, totally healed. They kept looking at my age, me, the X-ray, it just didn't meet. How could a woman, a 70-year-old woman, how could her bone have healed so quickly, especially when it was a total break? Oh, I don't drink coffee. That's one of the reasons. So my bones are very well mineralized. Also, a friend of mine, her mother-in-law had a similar fall. She had to have pins and plates, unfortunately. After 4 weeks, they X-rayed it, and the bones had not even begun to mend. And this lady's in her early 60s. But this lady drinks a lot of coffee. A lot of coffee. So if you are a coffee drinker, please don't stop. Please ease off it slowly. If you ease off it slowly, you don't get pain and suffering. So coffee not only leaches minerals out of the bones, it also disrupts the neurotransmitters in the brain. You see, it has an effect on the body like a crisis. And in a crisis, our neurotransmitters are affected. We're about to do the run or the climb or the fight of our life. So the neurotransmitters are put on edge, but there's no crisis. And so the neurotransmitters then have to quickly adapt and adjust. Do you know what that means? When someone's having coffee every day, it affects the neurotransmitters in the genes. So you can have a couple that are having coffee every day, maybe chocolate, maybe the Dr. Peppers, the caffeine drinks. They can give birth to a baby that's prone to attention deficit syndrome, hyperactivity, even autism, because of the defective DNA that was passed through because of the parents' caffeine habits. They don't tell you that on the coffee packet, do they? So caffeine not only damages the DNA, caffeine also is leaching minerals out. Also refined sugar. Refined sugar has a few effects. In fact, one writer said, it leaves the body better dressed than when it went in. How did it go in? Totally naked. No minerals at all. And it came out of the body dressed with some of our minerals because it is a pure acid. And what you will discover, especially in the next lecture when we look at the acid-alkaline balance in the body, if there's an acid environment in the body leaches calcium out to negate it because calcium is the most alkaline mineral. So sugar causes decay in the teeth for a few reasons. It's weakening the bones from the inside because it's leaching the minerals out, and it feeds any little bits of food that are in the mouth, feeds the microorganisms that are breaking it down, which can start to eat away at the dentine. I didn't give my children any sugar. I used to make them desserts a couple of times a week. I used maple syrup or I used honey. And I took them to the dentist. I think the youngest was 4, the eldest was maybe 15. I thought, maybe I should take them to the dentist one day. And the dentist said, your children's teeth astonish me. I said, why? She said, there's no decay. There's no decay at all. Their teeth are strong. One child had a little bit in one area where the food gets caught the way the teeth are, but she said, the decay's been arrested because the teeth are so strong. And I'd like to suggest one of the reasons is We had a big garden. We had a lot of food straight out of the garden, which is very high in minerals, but also they didn't get sugar. So we were in a big shopping mall one day, and it was near Christmas, so there's Santa and all of his helpers there giving lollies out. Well, you call them candies to all the children. And they saw my children, wow, 6 kids. So they came over and they went to give them to my children. My children went like this. And they're looking. They'd never seen that before. And they looked at me and I said, they're allergic. And Santa and his helpers went, oh. And my kids went, yeah. Do you know, my children were so well fed that they had no desire for that. And again, when you're well fed, when you're getting the nourishment your body needs, you don't crave the sweet things. The more sugar you eat, the more sweet you will crave. It's actually a highly addictive drug, as we will see as we go through. So sugar leaches minerals out, but sugar does something else. It gets the blood sugar level up very high, very fast. And then the body reacts by sending a lot of insulin to get it down again. And then it goes too low. So the person has another piece of sugar to get it up again, and there's this constant whiplash. And what that constant whiplash is doing is wearing out the pancreas. And you can get a couple, maybe the lady loves her sugar, maybe the guy likes his Dr. Pepper Cokes, which is a combination of the caffeine and the sugar. They can give birth to a baby and they can give that baby a weakened pancreatic gene. So that baby can be prone to diabetes. I've met children with diabetes and they're 2, haven't been on the planet long enough. And then one might say, oh, it's in the genes. We know what my question is, why is it in the genes? Why is it there? One writer claims that parents are the genetic engineers of their children, showing that our lifestyle habits, what we eat, what we drink, even our attitude, can affect the genes that we're giving to our children. Eeh. What else can damage the genes in the area of stimulants is alcohol. We're getting children born today with fetal alcohol syndrome to parents that have 2 drinks a week. Dr. Neil Nedley, in his book Proof Positive, he's got a chapter called Wanna Drink, and he shows in there the dangers of the alcohol, but not only the dangers of the alcohol and how it damages brain and liver, but also how it's affecting the genes. Children born with fetal alcohol syndrome, it's not because they drink or the mother's drinking in pregnancy, though it's not a good idea, but it's actually come through the genes. Why has it come through the genes? And you can have a couple who both are having a little bit of alcohol. In fact, he says even 2 drinks a week can do it. Eeh. So you can have that, and then they might have 5 children, but only one will have fetal alcohol syndrome. So and I think we see it all the time. It's my father had asthma. I'm one of 5 children. The youngest had asthma, but the 4 elder children did not get that asthma gene. And I gave birth to 6 babies, and my 5th child had asthma, but the other 5 not. And I think we all see it. It's like we look at our siblings, our kids, our nieces and nephews. She's got her mother's eyes. She's got her father's nose. It's fascinating. I was talking to a friend in Fiji. She said to me, yes, I'm full-blood Fijian, but she said, did you know that 2 generations ago, she said, my ancestors from up in the interior, these big Fijian boys would come down and work on the docks, loading the big ships. And there was a shop there with a white trader who had a blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl. Oh, she was a teenager, and she ran off with one of the big Fijian men and ran off into the interior. They never saw her again. And she said, that's my great-great-grandmother. And she said, do you know that every now and then a blonde-haired, blue-haired child comes out? The genes are very, very, very interesting the way they go. So alcohol, yes, it leaches minerals, but it also can damage the DNA. Tobacco. We're also seeing children born today with less alveoli in their lungs and also holes in the honeycomb shape around the alveoli to smoking parents. One young woman said to me, as soon as I fell pregnant, I stopped smoking. I said, well, I'm so glad that you did, because the research is showing that if a woman is pregnant and she smokes, every draw on that cigarette for that split second, that baby is lacking oxygen. So I said, I'm so glad you stopped when you were pregnant, but actually the 5 years before you conceived, that is damaging the DNA. So it's quite possible you can give damaged DNA towards the lungs to your baby. Now, if you're feeling sad right now because you did everything wrong, I've got some good news. Once you start doing everything right, the body has the ability to heal. Remember, genetics may load the gun, but it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. Looking at a few other things that can damage the DNA, chemicals. We're awash with chemicals today. No generation on the planet has ever been exposed to so many chemicals. You have no say over the neighbour, but you have total say over your house. And as we go through this week, I think you might be surprised at some of the ways we are exposed to chemicals. I was just talking to a lady in the back room. She came last year. She said, Barbara, I've got Airbnbs and we've got rid of all the polyester sheets and we've only got cotton sheets. Polyester. Nylon, acrylic and polyester were fabrics that were created in a chemical laboratory. And how many underwears that we buy are made out of nylon, acrylic and polyester. And later in the week when we look at hormones, you'll see those chemicals are affecting the hormones. But those chemicals can come in and they can alter the DNA. The biggest chemical company in the world is the pharmaceutical company. And there's the story of the thalidomide tragedy. Have you heard of the thalidomide tragedy? It was in the 1950s. Women were offered a drug to help them with morning sickness. In fact, my husband was born in 1957. He said, my mother was offered thalidomide, but she refused. So the ladies that took the thalidomide, when they gave birth to their babies had no arms. Just tragic that this was going on for about a year before finally someone put two and two together. An illustration of how the drugs can interfere or affect the DNA. That's why I say to women when they're pregnant, please keep away from all medications and please keep away from chemicals. Get the chemicals away from your body because they have the ability to tamper with the DNA. Drugs never cure disease. They just change the form and location. Yes, I had some very strong pain-killing medication when the surgeon pulled my hand back into place. But there's one day. That's one day. And the body can cope with something like that very occasionally. And that's once in my 70 years that the body can cope with that. We live in an incredible body that has the ability to adapt and adjust and detoxify. And tomorrow, where the two meetings in the afternoon are the immune system, where we'll be looking at the very system that God put in our body to heal us. And we'll also be going to be looking at the liver. And the liver is the main organ of the body that detoxifies us. And I'll be showing you how it does that. And you'll see after that lecture that even though we're exposed to a lot of chemicals, our body has the ability to detoxify us. That's the very good news. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be here when you consider what we are exposed to. So please get the chemicals out of your home. One lady, when she heard about nylon acrylic and polyester, she came to me, she was doing our program. She said, "Barbara, I'm going to have to throw all my clothes out." I said, "Well, hang on a minute. Just go little by little." And there's wonderful shops called thrift shops. And you can get some pretty nice things in there that you just got to take your magnifying glass to read the labels. So I don't mind if a garment is something like 80% cotton with a little bit of polyester. I can handle a little bit of that. And it's not so bad when it's the outer garments, but the garments that are touching you. So the natural fibres, you might be surprised to know that modal is a natural fibre. It's the cellulose spun from the birch tree. Viscose is fabric made from bamboo. And rayon is also made from wood pulp. It is true that these fabrics made from wood are softened with chemicals. That's why if you buy them, please wash them and put them on the clothesline. Now, I know you don't do that much here in America, is that right? Do you remember them? Clotheslines. Clotheslines. I think that the clothesline people should have me on the payroll. I'm campaigning to get clotheslines back into people's yards. Do you know I've never owned a dryer because we just put it on the clotheslines. There's an old Aussie song that says, "Give me a home amongst the gum trees, a kangaroo or a sheep or two, clothesline out the back, veranda out the front, and my old rocking chair." I won't sing it or you might all run out the room. So nice to know what hurts and what does not hurt. Now, men, it's not usually a problem. They have cotton underpants, they have cotton undershirt, cotton shirts, jeans, shorts, but ladies like the pretty things. And a lot of the pretty things are made out of the nylons and the acrylics and the polyesters. Also, be careful what you're cleaning your house with. In my laundry cupboard, you'll find sodium bicarbonate, white vinegar, and a bottle of eucalyptus oil. That's what's in my laundry cupboard. Oh, and I do have some biodegradable laundry detergent. So you have places like Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Sprouts. We don't have shops like that in Australia. But what we do have in a little town, we'll often have a health food shop. But we do find that in supermarkets today, if you look, you can usually find some biodegradable washing detergent. So these are many areas that it's important to be mindful of, that we are exposed to chemicals, not even realising that we are. And in the Bible, in Acts 17:30, it says, God winks at our ignorance. Got that? You can't be held accountable if you didn't know. But now you know. Sorry, you're not ignorant anymore. So there's so many hidden areas where we can be exposed to the chemicals. Also, genetically modified foods. So we're pretty excited in Australia about what's happening in America with Robert Kennedy Jr. and some of the steps that he is taking. Was it last week? He sacked the 17 on the board that assess the vaccines. Because, they're all on the pharmaceutical payroll. So what sort of a person are they to assess the danger? Anyway, we won't go on about that. That's coming into the drug area. But we're hoping that he is able to get, which is what we've been campaigning for in Australia and in America, losing every court case because Monsanto's so big, just to get them to put on the label if it's genetically modified or not. What is genetically modified food? Genetically modified food is the result of the DNA of two different species being spliced together. For instance, the Atlantic salmon and tomato, hoping to create a tomato that grows in the snow, but it still doesn't grow in the snow, and now it's got 5 centres. And when we eat genetically modified food, It creates molecules that have the ability to come in and damage our own DNA. If you buy organic food, you can be assured that it's not genetically modified, because an organic farmer doesn't use genetically modified seed. Also, what can damage the DNA is electromagnetic field. Do you know the worst place to put your laptop is on your lap? Protect the family jewels, men and women. We had a guy attend our program, he's 38, testicular cancer. And for the last 10 years, he's been driving his sports car around with his laptop on his lap. Get it away from the body. But also, I was reading the report of a breast surgeon. He said it's alarming the amount of young girls who are getting breast cancer in the breast where they put they phone in the bra. You can even buy a sports bra today with a pocket in it to put your. So please get it away from your body. And men, it's quite okay to have a man bag. Get that phone away from your body as much as possible. And also be careful where you sleep. We spend a third of our life in bed. And the figures are 80% of Americans sleep with their phones. So get it away from there, contributing factor to brain tumours. But you can have 10 people who all sleep with their phone and maybe only one will have a brain tumour. That's the interesting thing about the DNA. It'll come through with some and it'll not come through with others. So be careful of your exposure to electromagnetic fields. Also with the children, the best place for children is outside in the sandpit, amongst the green trees. Please greatly restrict, because their skulls are not as thick as ours. So they are even more susceptible to damage from electromagnetic fields. Called the silent killer because you can't see it. Mould. In nature, mould has the ability to splice into the DNA of plants, of trees. Can it do that with humans? Yes, it can. In fact, it's called medically a mycotoxin. Mycotoxin is a mould poison. That's the waste that comes off from mould. And it does have the ability to splice into the DNA. And that's why the first thing to protecting our DNA is to stop anything that could harm it, anything that could interfere with it. So can damaged DNA be healed? It can. That is the good news. To know how it heals, we need to know what makes up the DNA. What makes up the DNA is polysaccharides. Poly means many, saccharides mean sugars, and just about everything we eat is made up of many sugars. And this is not talking about the refined sugars. This is the many sugars found in your fruits and your vegetables. Also, the DNA, especially the crossword bands, is a breakdown from the protein we eat. That's the amino acids. And minerals literally glues us together. So our very DNA is made up of the food that we eat. Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. And he didn't know the intricacies of what I have just shown you here. And in Psalm 139, verse 14, the Bible says, I will praise you, for I'm fearfully, wonderfully made. Marvellous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. Remember that genetics loads the gun, but it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. So what's the lifestyle that can turn the genes on or off? Well, I have just shown you the very things that certainly can turn the genes on. So sunshine, there are 2,500 receptor sites for vitamin D on the DNA. Very difficult to heal without vitamin D. And a lot of people are lacking vitamin D today One of the reasons is they're not going out into the sun a lot. So many people are spending all their times indoors. And I can imagine on a day like today, you don't want to go out in the sun in the middle of the day. But in the morning and in the afternoon, we were driving around your main town. Is that Hickson? Yesterday, we went on a bit of a tour, and there are a lot of runners. And I myself thought it was a little bit hot to be out there. I think it was about 5:30 in the afternoon, but there was still quite a lot of sun there. But it's far better to be outside at that time rather than right in the middle of the day. And please, no sunscreens. Have you read the label on the sunscreen packet? And putting those on your skin, our skin, and we'll look at this tomorrow when we look at the liver, and we'll be looking at the organs of elimination. So not only does your skin eliminate, but it absorbs. So be very careful what touches your skin. I never have worn sunscreens, and I certainly don't intend to wear sunscreens. If I go out into the sun when I'm on holidays and want to get a suntan, I don't put sunscreen on. I take this thing on my wrist. It's called Watch. 10 minutes front, 10 minutes back. Got that? After a couple of days, I'll ease it up to 15 minutes front, 15 minutes back. By the end of the week, I'll have a nice tan. You can't get a tan in a day. And when you look at our ancestors, in the middle of winter, they weren't outside very much. They would go outside, had to tend the animals or do what you got to do. And then as the snow melts, well, I don't think you have snow down here, do you? As the weather gets warmer, they start to go out a little bit more, so they're getting a little bit of sun. So by the time the really hot days come, they've got a tan. That's how our ancestors did it. Because the sun cancers were not prevalent 50, 60, 80 years ago like they are today. Because what many people do, don't go out in the sun, go to the beach for the day, lie out like lobsters, is that right? And end up looking like lobsters. So we need vitamin D, and we need it every day. If we wear sunscreen, we will not get vitamin D because it's the UVB rays that are converted to vitamin D. Use of water. Use of water implies water can be used for therapy, and water must be taken in to keep this body hydrated. How much water do we need? We need an average of 8 glasses a day. The time to drink water is between meals, not with meals, because we need a nice strong hydrochloric acid, as you will see when we go on our journey through the gut. We need that acid to break our protein down. Our DNA swims in fluid. Our cell swims in fluid. Fluid is necessary for every part of the body. From the neck down, we're 75% water. From the neck up, 85% water. So for the DNA to function properly, it must be well hydrated. Sleep. Why is sleep necessary for DNA repair? Because the repair is happening mostly in the early parts of the night. The repair is most prominent from about the hours of 9 till 2 in the summertime, 10 till 3 a.m. So please try and catch those early hours of the night, the hours before midnight. That's when repair is most prominent. When people are going to bed at midnight every night, they're missing out on the most effective repair times. Trusting God, this takes into consideration our emotional and mental aspect of disease. When we trust in God, we trust that the body can heal itself. Trust is also faith. I know my grandson, I should say, Lennox, he gave me a wonderful illustration of trust. We're walking by the river, and he was a little bit hesitant, trying not to fall in. He turned around, he was 3, held onto my hand and became immediately invincible. In fact, leaning over the side, total trust he had in my hand. Now, I'm not as strong as his father, and he's a strong little boy, but I thought, isn't that incredible trust? And God says in Isaiah 42, he said, I will hold thine hand, I will keep thee. But he needs us to trust him. Trust that our body can heal itself. Trust that it will when we start to give it the right conditions. Abstain. There are some things we must stop. We looked at them already. We've got to stop the chemicals, stop the stimulants. Go for organic food as much as possible. Keep the electromagnetic field away from us as much as possible. I love my phone. I love WhatsApp. Means I can have immediate contact with my family all over the world, but I don't sleep with it near me. I don't charge my devices while I'm sleeping. So be cautious on your exposure. If there's mold in your home, this stuff is toxic. I've written a whole book on it. It's called Self-Heal by Design. And last week I did a podcast with a man named Doug Kaufman, and he has a television program called Know the Cause. Worth watching, and he's written so many books showing the mold, the mycotoxin link with disease. A lot of people don't realise that this stuff is toxic. It can kill you. So make sure all of these things are away from the body to protect your DNA. Inhale through the nose. Mouth is for talking, singing, whistling, eating, drinking, but nose and nose alone is for breathing. We're going to be looking at respiratory later in the week, and I'll be showing you in detail why that's so important to breathe through the nose. But very quickly, the energy cycle in every single cell in the body, you will get 18 times more energy when you breathe through the nose out of every cell. That sounds good. Nutrition. So the nutrition to heal the DNA are the 3 essential food groups. What are the 3 essential food groups? Fibre. So this is where we should be eating fruits and vegetables every day. Great amounts of fibre. And when we look at the immune system tomorrow, it might surprise you to know that our immune system is established by our gut flora. 70% of our immune system is established by gut flora. And what feeds and maintains gut flora is fibre. And it's plant food that is the highest in fibre. Protein. The easiest proteins to digest and utilise by the body are the plant proteins. So this is legumes, nuts and seeds. And the protein is important for the amino acids to maintain that integral part of the library, so to speak, in our DNA. The other reason why fibre is so important, we should be eating dark green leafy vegetables every day. The reason I'm mentioning greens, because they are the highest in minerals. And it's minerals that literally glue us together. The minerals are an important part of not only maintaining your DNA, but also healing the DNA. Fats. Fats are the 3rd essential nutrient. The membrane around every cell in the body is 50% fat. Whether you're 100-pound or 400-pound, it's the membrane around the cell. 50% fat and the other 50% is protein. Another reason why protein and fats are essential nutrients. And there are fats and there are fats. And there is one fat that unfortunately is very prominent today, but is incredibly damaging to the body, and that is the cheap seed oils. So the 2 fats that have stood the test of time and have been used for centuries and were commonly used before heart attacks even started to rise, and that is olive oil and coconut oil. So they've been used for centuries. What about animal fats? What about butter? Well, it certainly was used a lot, especially through Europe, especially through the northern countries. But way back then, before heart disease, it was organic and it was raw. But that's very different to the butters that are used today. So what are the oils that are damaging the body? Margarine is incredibly damaging to the body. In the Industrial Revolution, they created equipment to be able to extract seeds, to extract oil from the hard seeds. You see, for centuries, women have been able to extract the oils from the coconut because it's extracted from the flesh of the plant, to extract oils from the olive because it's extracted from the flesh of the plant. So in the Industrial Revolution, that's around the 1920s, they created these equipment to be able to extract oil out of hard seeds. And in the supermarket, they're the cheapest. They're in clear plastic bottles. It's canola oil, it's soy oil, peanut oil, some of the sunflower, safflower oils. Don't touch them. Don't touch them. They're incredibly damaging to the body, even to the point of damaging the DNA. So go for your healthy fats, your good fats, the fats that have not been altered. Moderation in all the good things. Yes, sunshine's important, but don't overdo it. You will get burnt. Most people either underdo or overdo the sun, unfortunately. Moderation in what we're eating. Olive oil and coconut oil are great oils, but please don't drink a cup a day. But I don't know anyone that does that. A bit hard to do that anyway. So moderation in all the good things and exercise. The reason why exercise is being mentioned in the healing of the DNA is because exercise moves blood in a mighty way through the body. Now, this cell that I drew for you here, we have 100 trillion cells in the body. 75 trillion are as I have drawn here. The other 25 trillion are red blood cells. And the red blood cells, the Bible calls them the life of the flesh. Why is the blood called the life of the flesh? Because the blood carries the oxygen to the cell. The blood carries the nutrients to the cell. The blood carries the water to the cell. And we are the ones that determine how much oxygen we're breathing. We are the ones that determine the nutrients because we are the ones that choose what we eat. We are the ones that determine how much water because we are the ones that are drinking the water. But the red blood cells also take away waste. The blood also has the white blood cells. And tomorrow we'll look at them in detail when we look at our immune system. And exercise causes movement of blood majorly. The blood's always moving. But when we exercise, we increase that movement of blood, which means when we exercise, we increase all of those nutrients getting into the cell. So it is in that way that the Sustain Me principles, when adhered to, are contributing to epigenetics. In other words, when we keep to those laws, we switch on the good genes and we switch off the not so good genes. And an important part of that is abstaining from anything that has the potential to damage the DNA. Even as simple as cleaning out your laundry cupboard, even as simple as choosing to eat organic over non-organic, even as simple as changing the fabrics, especially the ones that you're wearing next to your skin. And so in those simple ways, we can do much to protect not only our DNA, to protect it, but also to heal the DNA. And that's why epigenetics basically defines that even though genetics loads the gun, it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. So my father, he had asthma for the first 50 years of his life. I was the eldest daughter, and I used to take his puffer to him. That's what he called it, his puffer. And it was a rubber bowl with glass tubing. Those from my era might remember it, and had a little cork in it, and he'd put medicine in it, and he'd breathe it in. And at the age of 50, he conquered it when he discovered it was dairy. It was dairy products that he was allergic to. My younger sister, I was 8 when she was born. And for the first 5 years of her life, she struggled badly with asthma. As the elder sister, I used to sit by her bed, I used to read her stories, sing to her. I can remember the ambulance coming and taking her away. She had so many drugs, so many antibiotics that her teeth were a little bit yellow. She finally conquered her asthma at the age of 40 when she discovered the Buteyko method of breathing. And I'll be able to go through that in detail when we look at respiratory. It's a way of breathing that just opens the bronchioles. And she stopped dairy and wheat. So imagine my alarm when my 5th child when he'd get a cold, he'd go into severe breathing distress. Now, as my 5th child, all my other kids had colds, but they didn't go into this severe breathing distress where his nostrils would flare at every breath. It's very scary. From his hips to his ear, his muscles would cramp like this at every breath. Very scary thing. And it started when he was about 10 months old. And I'd rush him to hospital because you fear for his life. And they gave him Ventolin. Ventolin is a drug that opens the bronchioles. I didn't notice a lot of difference. If I could just keep him calm and hold him until it was 24 hours of this severe breathing distress. Then I read in the newspaper that Ventolin reduces lung capacity. And I thought, the very drug that I'm giving my son to basically save his life so he can breathe is reducing his lung capacity. So it was at that point I knew I needed more help. So I went to a naturopath. And the naturopath gave me a whole lot of things, which I will take through with you when we look at respiratory later in the week. But the good news is that when I started doing this with Peter, his breathing distress went from 24 hours to 4 or 5 hours. And then when he was 2.5, I went into labour with my 6th child, just as Peter got a cold. Then I was really struggled with, am I going to trust that this is going to be okay? I've done all that I possibly can for Peter. Or am I going to fear? And I knew I had to let this go so that I could birth my baby. Peter never went into breathing distress. In fact, he never went into breathing distress again. And he was diagnosed with severe physiological asthma. It was in the genes. My father had it. My younger sister had it. My son had it. My father conquered it at 50. My sister conquered it at 40. And we conquered Peter's at 2.5. And that's how I know that though genetics may load the gun, it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. That's the good news, and I thank God for that. And that makes sense to me because that's what God has given us is free choice. And if we are in slavery to our genes, that takes away our free choice. So all we have to do is to know what hurts and what strengthens, and the choice is ours as to where we go. And I don't think that there's anything, I have not found anything that a person can't manage and manage very well. And that's good news, isn't it? No matter at what stage in life, once you start giving the body the right conditions, it can rally round and heal. In fact, Dr. Joel Robbins, he had a clinic. I was watching a DVD by him. He said, I used to be a medical doctor, and he said, and I couldn't sleep at night. My patients weren't getting better. So he said, I studied nutrition. And he said, I see people get better now. He said, we've got a clinic. He said, this is the rule at our clinic. If they're still warm, bring them in. And the Bible says, to him that is joined to the living, there is hope. So no matter what your age, no matter what stage you're at, that's the good news. There is always hope. So we're going to have a break now. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at the acid-alkaline balance in the body. Thank you.
Testing.
Oh, okay. Jacqueline, yes.
Question and answer?
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you
okay.
want it now?
Are you going to
Is
ask
it-
them? Yeah, we'll do it now.
Okay. Do you want to ask the questions?
Yeah, do you have them?
Yes.
Do you want me to-
Okay.
Would
They're-
you like to read them to her?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
You want me to get them for you?
Okay.
Question and
Do
answer.
you want to
Yes.
tell them there's going to be Q&A?
Yes. And the hallway to the right. Hello, everybody. We're going to have a little Q&A session now, but please, if you need to take a break, use the restrooms. We just wanted to let you know regarding the restrooms over here, they're available to use. Jacqueline, no, it's the basket. No, it's the box. That's okay. I just wanted to let you know that feel free to use these restrooms here, because then we're seeing that they're vacant but that you're using the restrooms outside. We're just saying that if these are full, then please use the ones outside for your convenience. We're trying to do that. Thank you. And so we're going to do a little Q&A with Barbara. Now, we've had questions. They're in the hallway. And so if you have any questions, feel free to, this is the time you're going to write them out, okay? So Barbara is here live to answer those questions. So we do have a live Barbara. I can't tell you, I've been getting all these email messages saying, is Barbara actually going to be there? And I said, I hope so. We're planning on her to be here. And then another one, she goes, is this live? You know, is Barbara live? Yes, Barbara is live. So Barbara, they don't think you're alive. So we're trying to tell everybody, yes, this is live. So we have a variety of questions. So please, all week, feel free, now's the time to ask those questions and get them addressed, because we all have so many issues and things. And I know you've come in here for a specific reason. I want to help you with those. And so we'll go ahead and start with a few. We're going to be doing this throughout the week. So we're going to do a few right now, and then till we go into our next lecture, and then we break for our dinner.
Are you reading them to her?
Yeah, we can. Okay.
Do you want
Do you want to read them?
Do you want more than that?
That's fine. Essential. I think what will help with essential tremors? Are you on?
Testing, yeah. Essential tremors. So I always ask why. So for someone to have tremors, it indicates that the nervous system has been damaged. So then the next question is, well, what damages the nervous system? Remember Proverbs 26 verse 2, that the cursed causes shall not come. No tremors happen without a cause. So what would damage the nervous system? Neurotoxins. So what are neurotoxins? Heavy metals are all neurotoxins. Mercury is a neurotoxin. I don't know how they ever got away with putting it in our mouths. It's a neurotoxin. So if a person with essential tremors has mercury fillings in their mouth, my suggestion is to find a biological dentist and have them safely removed. And you can have a hair analysis test to see what the mercury levels are, because mercury is a common neurotoxin. And also chlorella and cilantro, they're both metal chelators. They can little by little get the mercury out of the body. Tomorrow we're looking at detox and how you can detoxify. So whether it be Parkinson's, whether it be dementia, whether it be Alzheimer's, whether it be multiple sclerosis, whether it be essential tremors, something has damaged the nerve cells. And in his book, Stop Alzheimer's Now, Dr. Bruce Fife shows that coconut oil can protect and heal the nerve cells. He even suggests taking up to 4 teaspoons of coconut oil a day. If I had essential tremors, if I had any nervous system problems like that, I would take that much coconut oil 3 times a day. And also there's a herb called St. John's wort, which is a nerve nourisher. And so that can be taken to nourish the nerves. But also you'd have a look and make sure nothing's coming. Mould can cause it. There are different mould wastes and different moulds affect different parts of the body. Make sure electromagnetic field, you're not having exposure to that. Get the chemicals, the heavy metals out of the life.
Okay, thank you. Next question. High blood pressure. Meds is causing a side effect of continuous coughing. What can a person do to eliminate the coughing?
The coffee.
The coughing.
Coughing?
From taking the med. Coughing. Yes.
Okay. Because we've already talked about how to stop the coffee. Now it's coughing. So this is with the lungs, and I think it is on Friday afternoon I'm looking at, or Friday morning, I think I'm doing respiratory then, where I'll be looking in detail. So what I always investigate first is, when did it start? Do you have any exposure to mould? Would there be mould in the lungs? Would there be damage in the lungs? So it's only by looking at the history that you would know. And with high blood pressure, you look at a few factors there: stress in the life, what the diet is. Often if person's carrying excess weight, the blood pressure can go up. So there are a whole lot of factors. In my book, Sustain Me, I have a whole chapter on the heart where I investigate all of that.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Where do you go to eat out when you're traveling? So I can answer a part of that. You've been eating in my garden. But where do you go?
So when I'm traveling, you'd be surprised how well you can eat. So we always travel with some fruits, we always travel with some nuts, we always travel with a few crackers, often an avocado. We eat very lightly when we travel. But wherever we go, people that get me to come and speak are into health, obviously. And so they usually have some good food for us. And I was in Oklahoma last week and I had a fridge full of great food, so I just ate that. But when I'm traveling, if there's not much to offer, I don't eat much. You can always buy a banana in the airport. You can always buy an apple. You can always buy orange, and you can always buy a packet of nuts. I just eat very lightly when I'm traveling.
Thank you. How do you feel about DMSO?
DMSO, it's a mineral supplement, and it certainly can be helpful. It has been shown to be helpful in some places.
What is the best way to heal psoriasis?
There's a chapter in my book on the skin. And in my book, I go through all the things that you can do to heal psoriasis. And also I have a story at the end. It's my son-in-law who totally healed from his psoriasis.
Wow, thank you. And what is the best way to heal and prevent skin cancer? Okay, these questions are difficult to answer in a few minutes. But keeping the laws of health is important. They're finding that vitamin D deficiency is contributing to skin cancer. Do you know what they are finding? Ian Wishart, in his book on vitamin D, he calls sunscreens, he says they have created one of the worst medical disasters. They're actually contributing to skin cancer, and they do not stop basal cell carcinoma. We're seeing people with basal cell carcinoma on the inside of their thigh. Well, that sun didn't cause that. So it's a whole combination of things. I'm looking at cancer later in the week, and the chemicals we're exposed to. Dehydration, that's the skin suffers with dehydration. Also these cheap seed oils and margarines, that's also contributing to breakdown in the skin. Thank you. These seem like very broad questions, but knee problems, that's the question.
Okay, well, I've got a chapter in my book called Lovely Legs. And you know, right in the middle of the legs is the knee. And one thing that knees do not like is excess weight. And I do have a chapter on my book on very simple ways to lose weight. So losing weight is one of the best things you can do for your knees. Wearing castoral compresses overnight can really ease knee problems.
Thank you. And regarding how to heal a cracked rib and best minerals to take for it.
Yes, a cracked rib, there's nothing medicine can do for a cracked rib. And time will heal a cracked rib. I've had a few cracked ribs in my travels, and they just heal. And they heal quickly, like I explained with my broken bone here, because the mineral status of your body is what will heal them quickly. And I really did show that. I showed how stimulants are leaching the minerals out. And the biggest source of minerals is your dark green leafy vegetables. So that's how you can up the minerals in your body.
Thank you. Okay, this one is help for trigger finger and help for hard lumps on knuckles.
Hard lumps on knuckles, castoral compresses can be very good with that, and wearing a castoral compress on the trigger finger overnight, that can certainly help. I would not have surgery. Whenever you have surgery, you're starting to damage the tissues. And I was talking to a Doc Malik, who's an orthopedic surgeon, and he said, I've started to implement lifestyle and dietary changes in his patients, and he got to the point where he was only operating on 5% of his patients. That's pretty incredible, isn't it? He said, my colleagues operate on 50% of their patients because the body can heal itself. So he's an orthopedic surgeon teaching his patients how they can avoid surgery.
What is the best way to support the body for sports activities? So how do we prevent these injuries?
It's important to listen to the body, and you don't push your body beyond its limits. And a lot of people have forgotten how to listen. It's important to listen and don't push your body too far, and little by little build up the strength of the body. And also keep it well nourished, keep it well hydrated, keep it well slept, have rest at night. And they've also shown now, the research is showing that the high intensity interval training is one of the best ways to get body strength.
Thank you. Wise advice. Listen to your body. Next one is bad toenails.
Okay, have they done something wrong? They're bad. Maybe it's fungus toenails, maybe. But one thing to know, that our nails, our skin, our hair, our eyes, our teeth, they're all an illustration of the nutritional status of our body. So I'm presuming it's fungus toenails. Fungus toenails are an indication that there is a fungal presence in the body. And in my book, Self-Heal by Design, my little green book, it shows how you can get fungus out of the body by dietary and herbs. But also on the toenails, you can put some essential oils. Don't put oregano, you call it oregano. Don't put oregano straight on the toenail or you'll eat the toenail out. You might like it eaten out. But dilute it with coconut oil. And the oregano is a good fungal killer.
Thank you. I think that's going to conclude our Q&A session for right now as we get ready for our food service and serving dinner. Thank you, Barbara.
Okay, thank you.
evening. Good thing you're in here.
Yeah.
And not out there.
Sounds like I got Ryan.